the deafening roar of the engine suddenly cuts to complete silence. Ella Lewis stands frozen in the dimly lit garage, her hands still gripping the wrench, as footsteps echo closer. "You honestly think you can fix what I couldn't?" The voice belongs to her boss, Mr. Peterson, and his tone carries 20 years of condescension. But what happened next shocked everyone in that small auto shop, and changed everything Ella thought she knew about her own abilities. Let's rewind to where this incredible story really begins. The morning sun barely breaks through the grimy windows of Metro Auto Shop when Mike Lewis arrives for another grueling day. At 52, his weathered hands tell the story of 3 decades under car hoods, but his spirit remains unbroken. The familiar scent of motor oil and the symphony of clanking tools fill the air as mechanics shuffle to their stations. "Lewis." The voice booms across the shop floor like a thunderclap. Mr. Peterson, the shop owner, storms toward Mike with that familiar scowl etched deep into his face. "We need to talk. Now." From behind a towering stack of tires, 17-year-old Ella Lewis watches her father's shoulders tense. She's supposed to be organizing inventory, but she can't help overhearing every word of what's about to unfold. "That Bentley engine from yesterday," Peterson continues, jabbing his finger toward the corner where a pristine luxury car sits with its hood up. "Customer called this morning. Says it's making the same noise as before. You told me it was fixed." Mike wipes his hands on his coveralls, his voice steady despite the accusation. "Mr. Peterson, I ran every diagnostic. Replaced the timing chain, checked the..." "I don't want to hear your excuses," Peterson cuts him off, his voice rising. "Do you have any idea what this customer means to us? He's connected to half the wealthy families in this county. One bad review from him could shut us down." Little did Mike know that his daughter was memorizing every word, her mind already racing with possibilities he couldn't imagine. Ella steps closer, pretending to count spark plugs while straining to hear. She's been coming to the shop after school since she was 12, absorbing mechanical knowledge like a sponge. While other kids her age scroll through social media, she studies engine schematics and watches repair videos until her eyes burn. "Give me one more chance," Mike pleads. "I'll figure out what's wrong." Peterson lets out a harsh laugh that makes several mechanics look up from their work. "You've had your chance, Lewis. That engine has stumped 3 of my best guys, including you. It's what I call impossible." He pauses, scanning the shop until his eyes land on Ella. A cruel smile spreads across his face. "You know what? Let's make this interesting." Peterson's voice drips with mockery. "Since you're so confident in your family's mechanical skills, why don't we let your daughter take a crack at it?" The shop falls silent except for the distant hum of an air compressor. Every wrench stops moving. Every conversation dies. Mike's face flushes red. "Sir, Ella's just a kid. She doesn't have the experience." "Exactly my point," Peterson interrupts, his grin widening. "If a 17-year-old girl can fix what seasoned mechanics can't, maybe I need to reconsider who's working in my shop." He turns to face Ella directly. "What do you say, sweetheart? Think you can succeed where your old man failed?" The challenge hangs in the air like smoke from burnt oil. Ella feels every pair of eyes in the shop burning into her. Her heart pounds against her ribs, but something deeper than fear stirs within her chest. It's the same feeling she gets when she solves a complex problem that everyone else has given up on. "I'd like to try," she says quietly, her voice barely audible over the ambient noise. Peterson throws back his head and laughs. "This should be entertaining. You've got until Friday. That's 3 days. If you can't fix it, your father can start looking for a new job." This decision would change everything, though none of them realize it yet. As Peterson walks away, still chuckling to himself, Mike approaches his daughter with worry creasing his brow. "Ella, honey, you don't have to do this. Peterson's just trying to humiliate us both." But Ella is already staring at the Bentley with an intensity that makes her father pause. She's not seeing just another broken engine. She's seeing a puzzle that's been waiting for the right person to solve it. "Dad," she whispers, "what if I actually can?" That evening, after the last mechanic clocks out and the shop lights dim to emergency power, Ella slips back inside through the side door. Her father gave her a spare key months ago, trusting her to handle inventory tasks when needed. But tonight, she has a very different purpose. The Bentley sits in the corner like a sleeping giant. Under the harsh fluorescent work light, Ella pops the hood and stares into the engine bay. It's more complex than anything she's ever worked on, a maze of precision-engineered components that cost more than most people's annual salary. But the real shock was still coming. As Ella begins her examination, running her fingers along cables and checking connections, she notices something the other mechanics missed. A tiny detail that changes everything she thought she knew about this impossible repair. Her breath catches in her throat as realization dawns. This isn't just about fixing an engine anymore. This is about proving that sometimes the most unexpected person holds the key to solving the unsolvable. Ella glances toward the shop's front window, where Peterson's office light still glows. Little did he know that his dismissive challenge had just awakened something extraordinary. Something that would shake the very foundation of everything he believed about who deserves respect in his garage. She rolls up her sleeves and reaches for her toolkit, whispering to herself, "The world's going to see what I can do." The workshop fell silent except for the gentle hum of fluorescent lights overhead. Ella stared at the massive engine before her, its chrome surface gleaming under the harsh lighting like a metallic mountain she was meant to climb. The words still echoed in her mind, "But can you fix what your old man can't?" Mr. Peterson's condescending tone had cut deep, but it had also ignited something fierce within her. Years of memories came flooding back as her fingers traced the engine's cold surface. She was 8 years old again, standing on a wooden crate beside her father as he explained the intricate dance of pistons and valves. Mike's patient voice filled her childhood evenings, teaching her not just about mechanics, but about precision, patience, and problem-solving. "See, baby girl," Mike had said during one of their late-night sessions in their home garage, "an engine ain't just metal and oil. It's got a heartbeat, a rhythm. You gotta listen to it, feel what it's telling you." His weathered hands had guided hers as they rebuilt a vintage Mustang engine together, piece by piece. Most folks see parts. We see potential. Those lessons had shaped her in ways even Mike didn't fully realize. While other kids played video games, Ella devoured technical manuals. While her classmates struggled with basic math, she was calculating compression ratios and torque specifications in her head. But she'd kept this passion quiet, watching her father face enough skepticism without adding his little girl's crazy ideas to the mix. Now, back in the present, Ella made her decision. She gathered her tools and began the most important project of her life. The next few nights blurred together in a haze of determination and discovery. Ella's bedroom transformed into mission control, engine blueprints covered every surface, technical journals lay open to complex diagrams, and her laptop glowed with research until the early morning hours. She'd identified the problem that had stumped everyone at the shop, a rare manufacturing defect in the cylinder head that created an almost imperceptible vibration, throwing off the entire timing system. Her younger brother Marcus knocked on her door around midnight on the third night. "Ella, what you doing in there? Sounds like you're building a rocket ship." "Just studying," she called back, not looking up from her calculations. But the community was starting to notice. Mrs. Henderson from next door mentioned to Mike that she'd seen Ella's bedroom light burning until 3 in the morning. Old Mr. Washington, who ran the corner store, casually asked Ella if she needed any more graph paper when she stopped by for the third time that week. "You working on something special, young lady?" he asked with a knowing smile, sliding an extra pack of mechanical pencils across the counter. "Your daddy raised you right. I can see it in your eyes. You got that same fire he had when he was your age, dreaming of fixing engines that nobody else could touch." Even Mrs. Rodriguez, the school librarian, seemed to sense Ella's mission when she requested advanced engineering textbooks through interlibrary loan. "These are graduate-level materials, Mija," she said quietly, stamping the due dates. "But I have a feeling you know exactly what you're doing." The unspoken support of her community filled Ella with warmth, but it also added pressure. These people believed in her, even when they didn't know exactly what she was attempting. She couldn't let them down. The breakthrough came during an unexpected moment of doubt. Ella had been staring at the same problematic section for hours, her eyes burning from strain. The cylinder head alignment was perfect according to every measurement, yet something still felt wrong. She could almost hear her father's voice, "Listen to it, feel what it's telling you." But how could she listen to an engine that wouldn't even start? That's when she noticed something everyone else had missed: microscopic stress fractures in the metal, invisible to the naked eye but detectable through careful pressure testing. The engine wasn't just mechanically flawed, it had been damaged during transport, creating hairline cracks that disrupted the entire system. As she worked out the solution, mapping a repair process that would require precision down to thousandths of an inch, Ella felt a surge of excitement mixed with nervous anticipation. This wasn't just about fixing an engine anymore. This was about proving that talent and determination could overcome prejudice and low expectations. He doesn't know what's coming. The roadblock hits Ella like a freight train at 2 in the morning. She's been working on the engine's most complex component for hours, her hands trembling with exhaustion as she stares at the intricate fuel injection system that refuses to cooperate. The part that should slide seamlessly into place sits stubbornly disconnected, mocking her every attempt. "Come on," she whispers, wiping grease from her forehead. "What am I missing?" The silence of the empty shop feels suffocating. Every tool she's tried, every approach she's learned from her father, every technique from her research, nothing works. The confidence that carried her through the first stages of this impossible challenge begins to crack. For the first time since accepting Mr. Peterson's condescending dare, doubt creeps into her mind. She steps back from the engine, her reflection caught in the polished chrome. The young woman staring back looks tired, defeated. "Maybe he was right," she murmurs. "Maybe I really can't do what Dad can't." But giving up isn't in Ella's DNA. She grabs her jacket and heads out into the cool night air, needing space to think. Her feet carry her to Murphy's Diner, the only place open this late, where the fluorescent lights cast everything in a warm, familiar glow. Behind the counter, Mrs. Rodriguez, a fixture in their neighborhood for 30 years, looks up from her crossword puzzle. "Honey, what are you doing out so late?" "Your daddy know where you are." Ella slides onto a vinyl stool, accepting the hot coffee that appears without her asking. "Just working on something." "Hit a wall, I guess." Mrs. Rodriguez studies her with knowing eyes. "You know, when my grandson was about your age, he got stuck on this science project. Couldn't figure out why his circuit wouldn't work. Spent weeks on it." She refills Ella's cup. Turned out he was thinking too hard, trying to force pieces that didn't belong together. Sometimes the answer's simpler than we make it. "What do you mean?" "Step back, Mija. Look at what you've got, not what you think you need." The older woman's weathered hands gesture gently. "My grandmother used to say, the river finds its way around the rock, not through it." Something in those words resonates. Ella's mind races back to countless hours in the garage with her father, but this time she remembers something different. A story he told her when she was 12, struggling with a school project about engineering solutions. The memory floods back, her 8th grade science competition. She'd been the only girl, the only black student, on a team designing a water filtration system. Her teammates had dismissed her ideas, insisting on complex chemical processes. But Ella had quietly worked on her own design, using simple physics principles her father taught her about flow and pressure. When presentation day arrived, her teammates' expensive, complicated system failed spectacularly. Ella's simple, elegant solution, inspired by watching her dad unclog a drain, worked flawlessly. The judges were stunned. Her teacher later said it was the most innovative approach they'd seen in years. "Think like water," she whispers now, remembering her father's words from that day. "Find the path of least resistance." Mrs. Rodriguez smiles. "There's that spark in your eyes. Whatever you're working on, honey, you've got this." Ella drains her coffee and stands, energy surging through her exhausted body. "Mrs. Rodriguez, you just saved my life." Racing back to the shop, her mind works furiously. She'd been trying to force the injection system to match the engine's original specifications. But what if the solution wasn't about making the old system work? What if it was about finding a completely different path? She spreads the engine schematics across her workbench, viewing them with fresh eyes. The fuel delivery system everyone assumed was broken, what if it wasn't the problem but the answer? Instead of replacing it, she could reroute it, use its unique configuration as an advantage rather than fighting against it. Her hands move with renewed purpose, implementing a solution so elegantly simple it's almost embarrassing she didn't see it before. The part that wouldn't fit in the original position slides perfectly into place 3 inches to the left, creating a more efficient fuel flow than the manufacturer ever intended. But just as she's making the final connections, her heart stops. She's been so focused on her breakthrough that she didn't hear the footsteps. Mr. Peterson stands in the doorway, his expression unreadable in the dim light. "Working late, are we?" His voice carries that familiar condescending tone, but there's something else, surprise, maybe even concern. "Your father know you're here playing with his tools?" Ella straightens, meeting his gaze directly. "I'm not playing, Mr. Peterson. I'm finishing what you said was impossible." He steps closer, examining her work with increasing attention. The modifications she's made are clearly visible, innovative solutions that even his experienced eye can recognize as brilliant. But instead of acknowledgement, his frown deepens. "Clever tricks won't make that engine run, girl. You're just making it worse for your father when this fails." His words sting, designed to break her confidence. "You'll never make it work in time." As he turns to leave, Ella's hands find the starter. Her heart pounds as she thinks of everything riding on this moment, her father's respect, her own dreams, the neighborhood's faith in her. The engine has been silent for months, defeating every mechanic who tried. She takes a breath and turns the key. The engine catches immediately, purring to life with a smooth, powerful rhythm that fills the shop. But this isn't just any engine sound, it's running better than it ever has, more efficiently than the manufacturer designed it to. Her modifications haven't just fixed the problem, they've revolutionized how the entire system works. Ella looks up to find Mr. Peterson frozen in the doorway, his jaw slack with shock. The impossible has just become reality, and everything is about to change. The garage felt different in the depths of night. Shadows danced across the walls as Ella worked by the dim light of a single overhead bulb, her hands moving with newfound confidence over the engine's intricate components. The breakthrough from the diner had unlocked something inside her mind, and now the pieces were falling into place like a complex puzzle finally revealing its picture. "Come on, just a little more," she whispered, adjusting a particularly stubborn valve assembly. Her fingers, stained with grease and motor oil, worked with the precision of a surgeon. The community elder's words echoed in her mind about patience and listening to what the machine was telling her. For the first time since starting this impossible challenge, she felt like she was having a conversation with the engine rather than fighting against it. Hours passed in focused silence. Ella's back ached, her eyes burned, but she couldn't stop now. Not when she was this close to proving everyone wrong, including herself. The modified timing sequence she discovered was working, and the compression ratios were finally balancing out. This wasn't just about fixing an engine anymore, this was about showing the world what a young black woman could accomplish when given the chance. The break room door creaked open behind her, and she froze. Heavy footsteps approached, and her heart sank when she recognized the familiar sound of her father's work boots on the concrete floor. "Ella?" Mike Lewis stood in the doorway, his face a mixture of confusion and concern. "Baby girl, what are you doing here?" "It's 3 a.m. She turned slowly, grease smeared across her cheek, tools scattered around the partially reassembled engine. There was no hiding what she'd been doing. "Dad, I can explain." Mike stepped closer, his eyes taking in the scene, the complex engine components laid out with surgical precision, the detailed notes covered in calculations he barely recognized, his daughter standing there with the confidence of someone who knew exactly what they were doing. "You've been working on Peterson's impossible engine." "I had to," Ella said, her voice steady despite her racing heart. You heard what he said about us. About you. I couldn't just let that slide. Ella, this isn't your fight. That engine has stumped 3 certified mechanics already. Peterson's trying to humiliate me, and I won't have you getting hurt in the crossfire. But what if I can fix it? The words came out stronger than she'd intended. What if everything he thinks about us is wrong? What if I'm better at this than anyone realizes? Mike's expression shifted from concern to something deeper, a recognition of the determination in his daughter's eyes that reminded him of her mother. You really think you can do this? I know I can. Dad, I've been studying advanced engine dynamics on my own for years. That competition in high school? That was just the beginning. I've been learning, growing, preparing for something exactly like this. Before Mike could respond, the sound of a car pulling into the shop's lot made them both freeze. Headlights swept across the garage windows, and Ella's stomach dropped as she recognized the expensive sedan. Is that Peterson's car? She whispered. The front door rattled as someone tried the handle, then came the jangle of keys. Mr. Peterson's voice carried through the garage as he entered, probably coming back for something he'd forgotten. His footsteps echoed as he moved through the front office area. Hide, Mike whispered urgently, but it was too late. The overhead lights suddenly blazed to life, and Mr. Peterson appeared at the garage entrance, his face twisted with surprise and anger. What the hell is going on here? Ella stood her ground, her chin lifted defiantly despite the grease on her clothes and the exhaustion in her bones. The partially completed engine sat between them like evidence of her audacity. You little. Peterson's eyes narrowed as he took in the scene. You actually thought you could succeed where real mechanics have failed? This is what happens when people don't know their place. She knows exactly where her place is, Mike said, stepping protectively beside his daughter. Right here, doing work that would make you eat your words if you had any sense. Peterson laughed harshly, approaching the engine with skeptical eyes. This pile of parts? You'll never make it work in time. The deadline's tomorrow, and you're nowhere close to finished. But as he spoke, Ella reached over and pressed the ignition button she'd rigged up for testing. The engine turned over once, twice, then suddenly roared to life with a deep, powerful rumble that filled the entire garage. The sound was perfect, no rough idling, no stuttering, just pure mechanical harmony. Peterson's mouth fell open as the engine continued to purr, its rhythm steady and strong. Ella's face broke into a triumphant smile as she reached over and revved it slightly, the beast responding to her touch like a well-trained animal. This is just the start, she said, her eyes gleaming with satisfaction and newfound confidence. The impossible had become possible, and tomorrow, the whole world would see exactly what Ella Lewis could do. The morning sun streams through the windows of Metro Auto Shop as a crowd begins to gather. Word has spread through the community overnight, Ella Lewis has done something extraordinary. Mike stands beside his daughter, his chest swelling with pride as neighbors, fellow mechanics, and curious onlookers filter into the garage bay. The engine sits there like a mechanical masterpiece, its chrome components gleaming under the fluorescent lights. Every wire is perfectly placed, every bolt tightened to precision. The impossible machine that had stumped seasoned professionals for weeks now hums with quiet power, waiting for its moment of truth. Mr. Peterson arrives with his usual swagger, but something's different in his stride. He's heard the whispers, seen the crowd gathering. His eyes narrow as he spots Ella standing confidently beside the engine, her hands still bearing traces of grease from the night's work. Well, he says, his voice carrying across the suddenly quiet garage. Looks like we have quite the audience for this little display. His tone drips with skepticism, but there's an edge of uncertainty he can't quite hide. Ella steps forward, her voice steady and clear. Mr. Peterson, you challenged my father to fix what you called an impossible engine. You suggested I try as some kind of joke. The crowd leans in, sensing the electricity in the air. Well, I did more than try. She walks to the engine, her movements deliberate and confident. The problem wasn't in the combustion chamber like everyone assumed. It was in the timing sequence, a micro delay in the fuel injection system that created a cascade failure. Most mechanics would look at the obvious symptoms, but I traced it back to the source. Her fingers dance over the components as she explains, each touch revealing her intimate understanding of every part. I redesigned the entire fuel delivery system, created a new timing algorithm, and installed pressure sensors that provide real-time feedback. This isn't just a repair, it's an evolution. The crowd murmurs in amazement as Ella continues her explanation, using technical terms that impress even the most experienced mechanics present. But it's not just her knowledge that captivates them, it's her passion, her absolute certainty in every word she speaks. Mr. Peterson's face transforms as he listens. The condescension slowly melts away, replaced by genuine surprise and growing respect. He approaches the engine, examining Ella's work with the eye of someone who truly understands automotive engineering. This is revolutionary, he admits, his voice barely above a whisper. The integration of these systems, the precision of the calibration. He looks up at Ella with new eyes. How long have you been studying this level of engineering? Since I was 8 years old, Ella replies, her voice carrying the weight of years of dedication. Every night after homework, every weekend, every summer. My father taught me the basics, but I pushed beyond that. I studied thermodynamics, fluid mechanics, electronic systems integration. I earned my ASE certifications online when I was 15. The revelation hits the crowd like a thunderbolt. Mrs. Chen from the corner store clasps her hands together. That's why she was always buying those technical manuals, she whispers to her husband. The community elder from the diner nods knowingly, he'd sensed something special in that young woman. Mike's eyes fill with tears as he watches his daughter own this moment. The fear he'd felt about her taking on such a challenge has transformed into pure paternal pride. She's not just his little girl anymore, she's a force of nature. Mr. Peterson clears his throat, and the garage falls silent. Ladies and gentlemen, he announces, his voice carrying a weight that wasn't there before. I owe this young woman, and this entire community, an apology. I let my assumptions cloud my judgment. I saw what I expected to see instead of recognizing the extraordinary talent standing right in front of me. He turns to Ella directly. Miss Lewis, I'm not just offering you a job. I'm offering you a partnership. I want you to head our new innovation department. I want you to revolutionize how we approach automotive repair and design. The crowd erupts in cheers, but Ella raises her hand for quiet. Mr. Peterson, I appreciate your offer, but I have conditions. I want to create a program here in our community. A place where young people, regardless of their background, can learn advanced automotive technology. Where potential isn't overlooked because of assumptions. Her voice grows stronger with each word. I want to prove that innovation doesn't come from boardrooms and corporate labs. It comes from curiosity, dedication, and the courage to see beyond what others think is possible. Mr. Peterson extends his hand, and Ella shakes it firmly. Deal, he says, and the crowd erupts once more. As the celebration continues around them, Ella places her hands on the engine she's transformed. The metal is warm under her palms, thrumming with perfect mechanical harmony. She looks directly at the small crowd that has gathered, her eyes bright with possibility. This engine represents more than repair, she says, her voice carrying clearly through the garage. It represents what happens when we refuse to accept limitations others place on us. When we choose to see potential instead of problems. She pauses, her hands still resting on her mechanical masterpiece. This is my legacy, not just this engine, but the message that impossible is just another challenge waiting for the right person to solve it. The morning sun catches the chrome one last time as Ella Lewis stands transformed, no longer the overlooked daughter of a mechanic, but an innovator ready to change the world, one impossible challenge at a time. What impossible challenge are you ready to tackle? Share your story in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for more incredible stories of triumph against the odds.